Hello, teacher. My name is Vũ Trọng Nhân. There are four members in my group. Nguyễn Hàng Nhân, Lê Hoàng Lâm, Lê Tấn Lộc, and me. Today, the subject of presentation is activity on error. I have divided my presentation into 5 parts. Firstly, definition. Secondly, when to use AOA. Thirdly, AOA presentation. Fourth, advantage and disadvantage. Finally, and timing project. Mm, we start to definition. This is a network diagram technique in which activity are represented by arrows. The start and the end of notch or even is connected to an arrow between two node lines, an arrow that re- represents the activity. When to use our scheduling task of a project. If you have a project with some tasks or event that have overlap, you may want to create an AOA diagram. This technique is beneficial for writing the step of each project is in order that you plan to complete them. Consider using the technique if you are scheduling a project with several deadlines. AOA diagram include the duration of each task and which is why they are valuable for project with inflexible schedule. And secondly, assessing connecting activities. AOA typically has some activity which have represented by node. You may want to create an AOA so you can assess the activity by viewing the node and arrows. This is beneficial if your project has many connecting tasks or events. And finally, develop a crucial project. Some projects are complex, have a critical deadline. If you develop an important project, you may be helpful to make an AOA. Since this diagram focus on scheduling, duration, and deadline, you have valuable results for urgent project. If you are managing a project you want to complete by a certain day, create an AOA can help you keep you on time. And continue Lê Tấn Lộc with presentation.
So I will show you how we can presentation AOA. In the picture, we can see the begins and end of the arrows are not ignored in events, and denoted by circles. Inside the events are numbering and labels of the arrows is uh, activity and duration. Um, we have some type of AOA presentation. In the first, we have a serials type, start A, do complete, and start B, do it means B requirements A, and the parallels task A and start B are do at the same time, and conversing start A and start B it converts in the one node, and arrows become out in a node tree, E in blue, not E in blue, start A and start B, and we can use a dummy route. The dummy route is arrow, but in this we don't do any activity. I will give you examples. I have activity A, B, and C. C requirement A and B. A and B do parallels, and I have a dummy route come from node 3 to node 2, and C come from node 2. It means C include A and B. Mm, and I will give you different way to representation AOA. In the picture, we can see we can representation by a circle, and we list four bar. Uh, we have e, events and t I s early occurrence time of the event e and late occurrence time of the event e and di reverse time of the event e and able the activity able the areas and the activity and the duration and below this picture we I can have example for this. Mm, I have some recommendation for you when you building AOA. We we should browse arrow from the left to right. Um, it help you can follow the trim of the activity and you also way number not after diagram is complete. Minimize frost whenever possible. Um, it help you easy easy to see diagram and control it and you dummy activity if you need uh, in net level 5 view presentation.
So now I will present about the disadvantages and the advantages of IOA diagram. The first thing of the benefit of IOA is can show the transparency and clear relationship between jobs. As you can see at previous slide, the each activity with duration is written down on an arrow, and each component of each activity is represented very clearly for you to follow the stream of the project. And the second advantage is it is the basis for calculating the research time. The research time here is the flat time, and as you can see, the TS and TM are represented on a knot with four component and TS is on the left and TM is on the right. That you can calculate the plot time by get TM minus 4 TS, and why is it the basic? Because on the number is so here, and you can easily to calculate the result time for the task. And the next advantages is it can help you reduce the planning errors, uh, because when you plan a project uh, on the component, uh, as long as the number is is so on is so on the diagram, so you are difficult to miss any digit, because on up the component of task is present on each arrow. And in contrast to the best benefit of IOI network diagram, we have two the drawbacks of IOI. And firstly, it's difficult to draw when the amount of work is too much. And here is the example of the IOI diagram that has about 20 tasks or more. As you can see, each task must be specified with a specific start, finish, and completion date. So, for example, each task has three components. So when we have about 20 tasks, we must have at least 60 digits on an on a background it, and it is the huge amount of number that we cannot follow, and and, and here's the detail of the previous background. So you can see it has about uh, 14 activity with duration early start, early finish, late finish, late start, total flat, and setup of activity. And the critical of status here is that activity is on the gain slide, and absolutely the total flat of that activity is equal to zero. And we can easily realize that this table has too much detail, and when we calculate about and we calculate early start, or for example we calculate the total flat, uh, you can easy to make a mistake when calculating any number in this table, will and this will lead to the failed project. And the next part is about timing project, and Young will represent to you.
So in that part, I will talk about how we time the projects. So it will be easy for you to understand. So we can start with the example of the list of activity with the duration and requirement of each activity. So we have 12 activities. So uh, we can see this is a AOA diagram of 12 activities. So on the arrow, there would be the activity names and the duration of each activity, and on the each node on the left is the early arrive of each node, and on the right is the late arrive. So there will be three parts that you need to knowledge is the free float time and free float time, total float, and uh, and the end of the projects. Uh, the first one and how to compute the early arrive and the late arrive of each node. Uh, Especially if you want to compute the early start, if not, it will be start at zero in the first node, and after passing each node, the early the early start will be plus with the duration of each activity. So we can see here from the node 1 to the node 10, uh, uh, the total projects will need 24, and the unit here is maybe week. So the project will need 24 weeks to finish. So if you want to compute the late start of each node, you will compute the reverse. So it will start in the end of the project with the 24, and you will be minus the duration of each activity. So you can compute the late start of each node after compute the early start and the late start of each node. So you can see this is a table. So each activity it is between two nodes. So uh, the table will represent to you is uh, each activity will have the previous node and the next node. So the free so uh, there are some definition here. The free float will be the time that each activity can be delayed without effect the next activities, and the total float will be the time that activity can be delayed without affect the total projects. So the free float will be compute by uh, the early start uh, the early start of the next node um, minus to the times of the early start of the previous node, and will be minus the duration of activities. So we can see here in activity A, uh, the early start of the next node is 2, and the early start of the previous node is 0. So we got uh, 2 minus 0 and minus 2. So we can see the free float will be 0. Is it also to the activity B, C, D, E? But in activity F, we can see the early start of the next node is 9. The early start of the previous node is 5, and the duration is 2. So we got uh, 9 minus 5 minus 2. So we got the free float of the activity F is 2. The second float is the total float. Um, this time is can be computed by the late start of the next node minus the early start of the um, previous node and minus to the duration. For example, in activity 2, we can see the late start of the next node is 9. The early start of the previous node is 0, and the duration of activity A is 2. So we got the total float is 9 minus 0 and minus 2. So we got the total float is 7. And we can also compute to all activity this table. And the time that the project will be finished is the is 24. It means that the uh, latest time of the projects. So this is the end of our presentation about AOA diagram. Thank you for listening.